What's up, baseball world? Welcome along to another edition of Jay's Talk with Jay. Oh my God, what a week it's been until yesterday. Now, there's going to be, how's to put it this way, there's going to be a lot of talking points over the rest of the season. However, Mr. Stripling and his start yesterday is going to be the topic of conversation for at least a few days, I would have thought. Joining me today, as ever, it looks like you seem to be a bit of a regular on a Thursday now, is Sheldon from Blue Jay Center. Sheldon, how you doing?
It's bad. How are you doing?
I'm all right now. I've recovered from last night's shock. Like I nearly gave up after the first inning. I've got to be honest. I was like, this isn't going to end well. I honestly thought it was going to be a cricket score.
You know what? After that first inning, he did settle it, but and he gave us 3 innings, or almost 3 innings, more than 3 innings actually. I think it was 4. So there's a little bit of a silver lining in Stripling's start after that first inning.
Yeah, more so with Stripling than we saw with Tanner Rourke when he was in. Like with Tanner Rourke, it was kind of like, no, I can't watch this anymore. Whereas Stripling, you're right, he did kind of come round to the point where he obviously he settled. But the problem that I have with it is that when you give up so many runs in the first 2 innings, it's more or less game over. We saw that with the Phillies, but the Phillies nearly came back against us at the weekend. And if we hadn't have scored so many runs and tacked on a couple, may have been a different story. The problem that I find with the Jays, though, and I think I said this a few weeks back, they seem to thrive on knowing that the starting pitcher is going to give them some kind of insurance. And I don't think we saw it with Tanner Rourke. They had no faith in him whatsoever. And when he pitched, they just didn't show up. And the same thing kind of happened last night. And I think it may have been different if Simeon had never got thrown out running the bases in the first inning, because it would have been 2 on, or he would have scored. Like when he started running, he should have just carried on going. I think he would have been safe. But if he had scored and then we had scored our runs, the momentum would have been going. There would have been nobody would have been out. It may have been a different story. But apart from that, I didn't see anything from us. Not really. Not worth a
Yeah, that play with Simeon in the first inning, I think, kind of jolted the Jays in the wrong direction. It kind of took the wind out of their sails a little bit, because they came out swinging, and then Simeon getting doubled up or tagged up on third took a bit of steam out of them, and it took them a while for them to start scoring runs again. Last night's start, Stripling, we wanted to see what he was going to do at the start, because his previous start wasn't bad. 5 innings, 2 earned runs. And if he had given us something like that last night, I don't think there would have been much discussion, but it was not good. And we've got to give credit to Boston. They are a very, very strong offensive team, but they're also a very smart hitting team. They saw what happened the night before with the Jays going opposite field, opposite field, constantly going opposite field. And because of that jet stream in TD Bank Ballpark, whatever it's called, in Dunedin, everything goes to right field. I mean, so you
hit that way, it kind of goes like.
Yeah, exactly. So I think JD Martinez is one of the smartest hitters in the league, and he probably went back and saw the video and realized, I just need to go right center, right field. And he probably relayed that info to a few of the players, and they took advantage of it last night. Tonight would be interesting if they're going to do the exact same thing, if the Red Sox are going to take the same approach, because now they got to deal with Steven Matz.
Different kettle of fish.
Yeah, different player, different pitcher, different skill set, throws harder, has crisper stuff. Let's see what the Red Sox will do. The Jays, I can't remember who they're facing tonight. I'm just going to check right now. Nick Pivetta, he's been performing very well. So this will be interesting. They're running up against a good pitcher, the Jays, and the Red Sox are running into Steven Matz. The question is, what Steven Matz are we getting? Are we getting the Steven Matz from the beginning of the season, or are we getting Steven Matz that kind of has plateaued a bit? So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I also think that when it comes to opposition pitchers, the better they are, the better we seem to perform. So that could work in our favour.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So we had an issue with Sheldon's laptop. It decided to die right while we were in the middle of recording, and then we started to talk again, and I forgot to push record. So it's been entertaining so far, and you've missed loads of stuff, really good stuff that we've talked about that we're probably not going to talk about again. Okay, so a couple of things. It's come out about George Springer. It looks like that he's not close to being ready. What's your take on that again?
Well, I think when they had approached George Springer to come back out and play, if he was ready to play, and he said yes, I didn't think he was 100%. But players, especially guys who are competitive, they want to play, and he wanted to play, and he played well. But we all saw what ended up happening with his quad. So the Jays don't have to rush into this. Lourdes Gurriel's coming out of a slump. He's hitting well. Randall Grichuk has not Randall Grichuk himself and gone into a tailspin. So
stole my line.
Yeah, I did. No, he's. It seems that when he gets into the slump, he just goes back to right field. He just shoots the ball to right field.
I bet you're also going to say Marcus Semien is possibly going to be Player of the Month for May. Marcus
is playing well. I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, if you take Marcus out of that lineup, that team is not going to be 500 at the moment. May would have been total collapse. And Teoscar, if we take a look at Teoscar and his hitting, he's been going to right field quite a bit, and all this is keeping the offense going. They don't have to rush Springer back. There is no need to. Let him get fully healthy, then bring him in. I wouldn't want to DH him. If he's healthy, let him play center. Then you could move the defense around a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think I said this before. We spent all that money for a center fielder. We didn't spend all that money for a DH.
I agree.
Someone much cheaper. It just doesn't make any sense. I'm not. I changed my mind. Obviously, we spoke about this before I forgot to push record, but I'm not overly. Before, I thought we needed to trade. I felt like we were missing one or two pieces, but the last 2 weeks have shown, bearing in mind we're a game and a half behind first place, right? We've shown that we're more or less there. It's the pitching that we've had to really worry about, and when the pitching's been bad, the offense has kind of gone to sleep. We've discussed all of the players and positions. Everyone kind of knows, like Danny Jansen's come round, Lourdes has come round, Cavin's playing much better, and we're talking offensively here. So I don't think there's any need to go and push any buttons there quickly. But there has been some trade talk. Blue Jay Center mentioned it yesterday as well. Who is it, and what's that all about?
Jose Barrios. He's probably arguably the number one starter for the Twins. He's been with the Twins since his signing. I believe he was signed by the Twins. He's been their starter since age 22. He's 26 right now. If Pete Walker got his hands on him, he could immediately take Barrios from being a number 2 type starter to a number 1 type starter very easily.
You're trying not to laugh, aren't you? Because you're like, oh, what did I say? And I know I just said that.
But I don't see the Twins trading Barrios. I think they're going to sign him to a long-term deal. If they entertain the thought of trading him to Toronto, the package is going to begin with Alex Manoah, and I think that will shut down any type of trade talk. I don't think that'll happen. And there's no way that the Twins will take anything less than Manoah included in that deal. I don't think they'll take Semien Woods Richardson. I don't think Pearson's in there. I don't think Kirk is in there. I don't think Moreno's in there. It's going to begin and end with Manoah.
You reckon we could offload Springer? Now we know that we don't need him.
I wouldn't be. In a fantasy parallel world, I could see Houston saying, "Yeah, we'll take him back. We need him." Because they got, I believe, is Marcus Straw in center field, and he's no George Springer. And there's no disrespect to Straw; it's just he's not George Springer. But yeah, I think Springer. I think we'll get about 100. We'll get between 90 to 100 games out of him this year. But if you take a look if you take a look at Springer's record, his career record, I don't think he's played more than 150 games. I think only once.
Once.
Everything else has been 140, 130. So he is, I want to say injury prone. He does get the odd injury from now and then. It stops him from playing. But his numbers have been fantastic during the games he has played. So I wouldn't rush him. There's no need to rush him.
So now that we figured out that we probably don't need to rush into the trade market just yet, I think that they will if the right player comes along. If someone comes to them and says X, Y, or Z is available, what can you offer? I think that the front office might entertain it. But considering this looks like this is going to be our core players now, at least until the end of June, at least. Do you think that we can sustain what we've been doing over the last 2 weeks? Because it's been an impressive run, right?
I think they can. It's just a matter of after this series, they got New York, and I think they got Tampa, and the Yankees are starting to play well. Stanton's on the save list. They're starting to get their players back as well. Luke Voigt has come back. Aaron Judge is hitting well. DJ LeMahieu's starting to come around. They recalled Miguel Andujar, who was fantastic when he did play a full season, and he's kind of run into some injury problems. Their pitching staff has come around. Please
don't turn this into Yankees talk. Just putting it out there. We all know that you like the Yankees.
Yeah. Kluber pitched a no-hitter. Cole has been dynamic. Jameson Taillon has pitched well. So, and Domingo Hernandez pitched well. So they got 4 starters they can roll out there.
The funny thing is that you're going on about the Yankees, yet Tampa Bay are the ones that have just won 7 on the spin.
Tampa is probably one of those teams that I'm always afraid to talk about, because every time when I think they're done, they reel off 5 in a row. And when I think they're doing well, they tank. So they're a very hard team to gauge. I like what they're doing. They're constantly mixing and matching and and they're using all their players. They're using every single hitter on that bench, and they're using every single pitcher to win a game. And they manage it so well. But the Yankees are the team that I'm more concerned about. I think Tampa, you can handle Tampa. I think you can get to their starters. I think you can beat up their pitching staff. The Yankees, if they're rolling, they can put up a lot of runs. And the Yankee series, I'm interested in seeing what they're going to do.
From what I can remember, I think it's 3 against the Yankees, then 4 against Tampa. I think
that's. I thought it was 4 against the Yankees. 3 against.
It could be the other way around. Yeah, I know that. There's no off day, but I know that it's Yankees first, then Tampa. My point was, while you're checking,
it's 4 games with Tampa, and then 3 games with the Yankees.
Oh, so it's Tampa first. Oh, yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. So
and then they got the Indians after.
Yeah, it's 7 games against our biggest rivals, probably, including the Boston. I've got a feeling we'll win tonight. I don't know why, but I've got a feeling that we'll win tonight. Then we have 7 games against the other 2 teams. Could this define where or whereabouts we're gonna? It's not the be all and end all, but I think it's quite a defining moment in the season already, because if we can get the upper hand on Boston, on New York, and Tampa, we should by the time that those 3 series are finished, we should be top.
If the Jays go 6-4 or better, we should either be tied in first place or be in first place.
And we've played less games as well, right?
Yeah. Anything, if they go 500, then we're going to be right where we are, which is not a bad thing. We're in second place. We're a game and a half behind. But I'm looking at 6-4, 7-3. And I think if the Jays go 6-4, 7-3, that's going to be a signal to the Yankees, specifically the Yankees. Because Tampa, they don't have a lot of room to make a lot of moves. And if they're going to make a move, they're not thinking about getting someone in to help them now. They're thinking about someone to get them in now and for the next few seasons.
Yeah.
The Yankees, on the other hand, are probably going to look at it and say, okay, we have a better idea of what the Jays are. Let's see if we need more pitching. Let's see if we need someone else. The Yankees have, contrary to belief, they will spend money if they need to. Despite what Steinbrenner's, I think Hank or Hal Steinbrenner, I can't remember which, trying to keep that luxury tax not affecting the Yankees. They have to go above it. They probably will.
Yeah, they don't want to miss out on the postseason this year. I don't think that's an option for them. And the Yankees are the ones that scare me the most, just because they haven't really kicked into gear yet.
And you got to remember, Stanton was hitting well before he got hurt. Aaron Judge has gotten hot. DJ LeMay, who's hitting well. They've started to come. It's their pitching staff. If they can pitch well, I don't see anybody catching them.
Yeah, no, it's definitely gonna be interesting over the next week, 10 days, that's for sure. I want to ask you about one player, Shohei Ohtani. How close do you think that we were to trying to get him? Do you think that they really pushed, or do you think it was more just paper talk, nothing really in it? Because I'll tell you what, the guy looks like a phenom.
He's somebody that we haven't seen, not in my time. Someone who could do what he can do. I don't think the Jays were ever close to him. I don't. And if they thought they were, his determination was to play with Mike Trout. So even if the Jays were close, I don't see him actually accepting the offer, or I don't see the team he was playing for in Japan accepting that offer either. They probably would have said, okay, we'll grant Ohtani's wish to go to Anaheim. I felt the Jays should have gotten Yu Darvish way back then. I thought they had gotten him.
He's another one as well, because I remember that story, and it was us and Texas, really, wasn't it? That's who they were saying, and I was convinced we got him. I was convinced there was a tweet, I think came from Ken Rosenthal. Don't quote me on it, but I think it was Ken that actually came out and said the Jays are going to sign Yu Darvish. I remember I was home. I got the tweet in the middle of the night, and I was excited. And then when I went to work, and I said, we got Yu Darvish, because I was working with a great group of guys, and they were into baseball, and they said, no, he went to Texas. And I said, no, he went to Toronto. He came to Toronto. And then I'm showing them the tweet, and they said, well, did you see this one? And I'm like, oh, come on, man. We couldn't get him. And I think we were short by, the rumor was we were short by $500,000. No way.
That was the rumor, that we were short by $500,000. So the team that he was playing for accepted the highest bid, which they're entitled to do that, and they accepted the highest bid, and it was Texas. And that kind of, it was him. Before that, it was Aroldis Chapman. We were in on Chapman, and we were off by $6 million. I think Cincinnati offered him 6 years, 36, and the Jays had offered him 6 years and 30. And I was super pumped for him, because left-handed thrower, throws 100 miles per hour. I said this guy would have been amazing for us as a pitching piece. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. But it's not the first time the Jays have ventured into either the Cuban market or the Japanese. During the Jays 92-93 run, there was talk they were going to try and get the Cuban Nationals third baseman Omar Linares, who was considered at the time one of the best players in the world. And they explored so many opportunities of how to get him. Do they sign him and have him play just in Toronto because he wasn't going to be able to play in the United States because of the embargo and all these other intricate rules that they were having in place? What do they do? How did they get him? And then when the rumors started to pick up and there were talks, how severe the talks were, nobody knows, but Major League Baseball came in and said, no one can sign him, which kind of messed up Toronto. And there was another rumor that Montreal, when they found that Toronto was interested, was going to try and make a play for him, which would have been interesting because if he was allowed to play and if Montreal or Toronto had gotten him, what type of player would he have been? Because not only was he great offensively, he was great defensively. And Cal Ripken spoke about him and other players had spoken about him. And this guy Omar Linares was the guy who should have been in Major League Baseball, but wasn't. But so Jays have kind of gone into the international market from time to time. But they signed somebody in 96, it was 94, 96, Jose Pet, who was a Brazilian pitcher. And he was really, really good for a time. But they traded him to Pittsburgh in that deal.
Well, recently we had Hechavarria, right?
Yep. And they traded him to Florida in that deal. So the Jays have had success in signing international players. They're not the names that we expect or the names we always hear, like Ohtani and Chapman and those guys, but they've had success. So, but I don't think they were close on Ohtani. We had Yamaguchi last year, Sham Yamaguchi.
He did well, didn't he?
I feel bad for him. I really felt bad for him because they put him in situations where it was almost like a no-win situation for him. I thought he pitched well enough at the tail end of the 60-game season, but it wasn't enough to keep him, obviously. Yeah. So,
okay, let's come back to present day.
Yep.
How do you think tonight's game's going to go?
On Mats. Depends on what Mats we get. We get the Mats that pitched well the first 4 games. It's going to be, like 4-3 Jays. If we get the Mats that struggle, then I think the offense will have to find a way to attack Pivetta, and it's going to be 5 Jays.
Interesting.
So I say Jays win, but it all depends on really what happens with Mats.
Yeah, I think I from judging by the previous 2 games, it's a lot of it is about what happens in the first 2-3 innings. Mm-hmm. And I think that if we can fire, get some runs on the board early, I think we've got a chance. Because once it goes to the bullpen, 99% of the time we've been lights out.
Mm-hmm. And you got to think that Boston is looking at the series like they can actually, put distance between them and the Jays. I know it's early in the season, but any type of distance you get between you and that second place team helps. And if they win, they'll be 2.5 games up. So they're looking at it like that. And don't think Boston is definitely looking at New York right now. So it's interesting. I mean, 4 teams are within striking distance of first place, and Baltimore is not that far behind. So the AL East is looking really, really good.
No, and it only takes 1 or 2 injuries, as we've seen already, for teams to start dropping games. And obviously, I don't know what the other teams have had injury-wise, but when you talk about Stanton and stuff, I think you can kind of get away with some of your offensive players not playing, as we've seen with Springer. Teoscar was out as well. You can still kind of just about get by. I think that when you start having a lot of injuries to your pitching staff, whether it be your starting rotation or the bullpen, that's what happens. So if we can start getting some players back and they may start losing 1 or 2 arms, it's going to make it very interesting.
The Red Sox are probably waiting for Chris Sale to come back, a few of their arms. The Yankees, Kluber and Taillon are pitching well, but Their arms are, I want to say, ticking time bombs, but I don't see them giving you 30 starts, or they may give you 25 starts each, but I can't see them giving you 30 at this moment. I could be wrong. The Yankees pitching, the Jays trying to survive the injuries, Boston and their injury coming back. Tampa their luck has to run out eventually, because they don't have who can you point to on that team that is their preeminent superstar? Maybe Randy Arozarena.
Yeah.
Maybe Tyler Glasnow. Maybe those two are the only two you can think of. And that's no disrespect to the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, but they win collectively.
But they're a team, right? They are. The one thing that I will say about Tampa Bay is they are a team. They're your classic. I was going to say 11 players, but it's not football; it's baseball. So it's a classic 9 players that go out on the field, and they all play as one.
Mm-hmm.
They're not Yankees with Stanton and Judge, or the Angels, Ohtani and Trout.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about 1 or 2 players. For them, it's like if they all do exactly what they're meant to, they'll score runs and they'll stop conceding a lot of runs as well. And that's a good thing. That's the only thing I can say positive about Tampa, because I can't stand them.
Tampa plays the Jays hard, man. Tampa plays Jays hard every single time. And, since their inception in '98, they've been basically playing the Jays hard. I don't know if they have something against Toronto. I don't know if it's something against the Blue Jays, but they play the Jays hard every single time. And it's one of those underrated rivals that we have, but it's a good rivalry because the Rays play you hard. You know what you're in for with the Tampa Bay Devil Rays.
Yeah. Now, normally around about this time, I would ask you like who's been the most impressive player. Let's change it up a little bit this week. Who would you say has been the most improved player since the season started?
Most improved since the season started?
Yeah, it's not a trick question.
I'm probably going to say, given what he was doing to what he is doing right now, I would say Danny Jansen offensively. Now, granted, he's not lighting up the scoreboard with his hits.
He only has to get 1 hit
in 4 at-bats.
4 at-bats.
Mm-hmm. I think seeing him come around and hitting well, that helps the lineup. And I think it helps that he's got Reese McGuire there. Of all things, ever since Reese came up, or ever since Kirk went down, he's
giving him a hand.
Yeah, it's good. Something's happened with Danny that he's coming around with the bat. It's going to be Danny Jansen. I think another guy that has caught my attention just with the way he's approaching every at bat right now is Teoscar Hernandez, because he's generally someone you think that pulls. Unless he's hitting a home run, it's going to right center to left center. But he's getting a lot of line drive hits. I saw a stat last night that his line drive percentage is like 36 point something %, which is 4th in the I think it's in the AL or in the MLB. That's amazing for him. And you can see it in his batting average. His batting average is over 300, and he's going to right field.
I'm going to give an honourable mention to Vladdy. And not because of his offense, because his offense has been. I'm lost for words in regards to his offense at the moment. But I think defensively, and just his character, there's something. If you watch the dugout and you watch him on the field, like yesterday, when he in the first inning and he hit the double off the wall, he really is trying to G them up. Now, obviously, it didn't go our way yesterday, but he's kind of becoming the team cheerleader, and he's taken that on his young shoulders himself. But not only is he doing that, I think defensively, he's not the player that we saw last year or the year before. Like, he just looks, and I know there's 2 different positions, but he's running, he's diving, he's sliding into base like he did
last night. That double was amazing. He slid in there.
like I just feel like that is going to be the difference between us making the playoffs and not. If we had Vladdy from previous, we probably won't make the playoffs. But this Vladdy that we're seeing this year, offensively, we know he's good. But like I say, defensively, I've been really, really impressed.
I think the team takes their lead. You know, here in Toronto, people still feel that Bo is the best player between the two. And I've been saying since day one that Vladdy will end up being the best player out of everyone that they've had. And that's a big statement to make because we've had Carlos Delgado. And I've always said that Vladdy's going to be one of two players. He's going to be Carlos Delgado in his prime, or he's going to be Edwin Encarnacion in his prime. And I kind of lean towards Carlos Delgado.
And either one of them, to be fair, is still good, right?
Yeah, exactly. But you know, the perception here in Toronto was Vladdy was fat. Vladdy is this. Vladdy is that. Vladdy's lazy. You know, people fail to realize he was 19, 20 when he got called up. He's 22 right now. When we were all in our 19s, you know, 19, 20, 21, we weren't in absolute shape. You know, beer, pizza. I mean, I worked out, but I went to, you know, every odd place that I can find food anyway. So the Jays are only gonna go as far as Vladdy takes them. As great as Bo is, as great as Kevin can be, Marcus and everyone else, they're drawing their inspiration and their ability to win from Vladdy. If Vladdy's hitting well, it kind of, you know, gives everybody else in the team an opportunity to hit well. It influences them. And Vladdy has emerged as that leader, the on-field leader. Kevin is a leader in his own right. He is more studious. He's very kind of structured in his approach. But I think those are the two guys that are in that leadership position. Yes, there's George Springer who brings, you know, veteran experience. Marcus Semien, the same thing. But this is Vladdy's team. So I think he knows it. He plays every game the way you would want him to play. And he's doing everything that's right. He's going to opposite field. He's going to right center. He's going to center. He's taking his walks. He's doing everything right offensively. He's trying to do everything right defensively. He's still a work in progress at first, but he's done so well at first.
No, I agree. Just for fun,
Mm-hmm.
you like to make predictions.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think his average will end up being by the end of the season? How many RBIs do you think he'll get? How many home runs do you think he'll get?
So I think he'll hit about 325. He'll hit 325. He'll have about 35 home runs. And if people continue getting on base the way they're at the rate, he'll probably have about 130 RBIs.
130 is as many as that.
Yeah. I mean, Bo's going to take a few because Bo's going to get hot. But I would say about 130 or 135.
Sheldon says.
Yeah. Hey, write it down, man. 325, 35, 135.
Mate, it's going to be on YouTube, on Spotify. Don't need to write anything down. Yeah, I thought around about 100 RBIs for sure. Well, he's on 31 already.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're not even 2 months into the season.
We're close to 50 games.
6 weeks, 7 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's I'm looking forward to see, especially when we move to Buffalo as well.
A lot of it has to do with the lineup construction too, because if you take a look at Bo's on base percentage, it's only like 325, 330 around there. And he needs to get his batting average over 300 to have an on base percentage of 360, 370. So he needs to hit to get that on base up. Springer, at the moment, we don't know what we're going to get from him. So Marcus is batting leadoff. And I had spoken about this before. Once Springer does come back, and you're going to have a pleasant problem with that lineup, I honestly would drop Marcus and Bo in the lineup to maybe 6 and 7. And I would have George,
Vladdy,
Kevin Biggio, then Vladdy.
Oh, really?
When they're facing right-handed hitters,
Ah,
when they're facing right-handed pitching, I would put Bo number 2 because we've seen Bo at the top of the order. I'm sorry, Cavan at the top of the order, and he's performed very well.
and it's a left-handed bat, splits them
Yeah.
up a bit, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't know what's going to happen with Rowdy. I would love Rowdy to get hot and be another left-handed bat.
He's got to get fit first.
Maybe that might be it. Maybe Rowdy might be too big. We're not saying he's fat, but maybe he might be a little too big. And then you can have Teoscar, Lourdes, Bo, Marcus, whoever you want. And then against left-handed pitching, move Bo to the number 2 spot. So you'll have more right-handed hitters against left-handed pitching. I mean, I'm thinking along the lines of what Cito Gaston did with the 93 Blue Jays. He had Henderson, White, Alomar, Molitor, Carter, Ballroot. And he played with that lineup against righties and lefties. So it's an experiment. It might work, it may not work. I know people are adamant that Bo's the number 2 hitter. He's got to get that bat. He's got to get that on base percentage up.
Yeah, because if he's getting on base as much as we'd want him to, Vladdy goes from getting 130 RBIs to 150 RBIs, basically, doesn't he? So,
what did you think about Tony La Russa coming out and blasting his own player?
You know what? I'm glad that you brought that up. I was reading an article on that earlier. I've had a philosophy since I was very young. Bearing in mind, I was very sporty as a kid. I played football. I did athletics. I watch a hell of a lot of sport, as you can tell. I only ever play if I can win. I don't play for fun. I won't even play cards with my friends for fun. If I'm competing in any shape or form, I am playing to win. I play my daughter at FIFA on the Xbox. I won't let her win. I won't let her win. We play the baseball game on the Xbox, whatever it's called, the last one. I won't let her win. She gets annoyed and she'll start hitting me, but I won't let her win. I don't understand this mentality about like he's not really a pitcher. He's throwing 45 miles an hour. Like, first of all, why is he only throwing 45 miles an hour? Because I'm not being funny. My 10-year-old daughter can throw harder than that. So that's your first question you have to ask. Second of all, if your team sucks that bad that you have to put, bearing in mind we're Blue Jays fans, right? And we've seen teams suck when we've had to put people like Ryan Goins into pitch. So we've seen it. We understand. But if your team sucks that badly, be better.
Yeah, that's it.
Be better.
I agree.
So to turn around and say he shouldn't be hitting a home run, screw you. You shouldn't be hitting a home run. You know what? Don't make that situation happen in the first place. Use someone from your bullpen.
I mean, you have 26 players. You have probably 13 or 14 pitchers. Let them take a beating.
If you've got to use
use Tanner Roark, let him get it up.
If you've got to use tomorrow's starter, so be it. But using a position player, I think the only time you should ever have to use a position player is if you have no other options available. And they could have used anyone. They could have used the pitcher from the day before to throw. I don't get it. I don't understand the mentality. And these unwritten rules are the most ridiculous things I've heard. That's not the only one. There's a few.
There's a few of them.
Unwritten rules.
Yeah, when I played baseball when I was younger, if we were up by 10, it was a collective decision. We never listened to our coach. It was just a collective decision. Do we want to continue scoring runs? Look at the score. If it's 12-2 and it's the 7th inning because we only played 7 innings, or say the 5th inning. All right, and we were young. We were in our early teens. We were like, okay, well, we'll just go base to base. Doesn't mean we're not going to go up there and swing, but we're just going to go base to base. We're not going to try and steal bases. We're not going to do any of that stuff. But that was a collective decision. Now, if we see someone coming in that's not a pitcher, like they were just throwing anybody out there, well, then of course we're going to play hard. But if we knew the other team and we knew the other pitchers and we knew other pitchers from time to time, we would take it easy. But it was never a rule that we had to do anything like that.
No.
And for them to use Octavio a couple nights ago, obviously you don't care about this game. Yeah, it was the ninth inning. It was 14-5. But, anything could have happened. You still had an up. You still had to go up. You still had to go up. You still had to hit in the bottom of the inning.
But not only the difference is I don't know how many people were on base or like how many RBIs he got for hitting the home run. But
I think it was just solo.
But yeah, that one solo homer could be the difference between him having the most home runs at the end of the season or losing out by one, right?
Yeah.
So
that particular game, if he didn't swing, and let's say it was 14-5 going into the bottom of the ninth or the bottom of the inning, and the Twins score 9 runs to tie it, then they win it in extras. Well, aren't you going to feel kind of stupid not trying to swing?
Yeah. On
a 3-0 pitch that's 47 miles per hour? And then who are you going to blame?
I don't get it. It's the same. It's nearly as stupid as you can't score 28 runs because it's taking the piss or whatever. No. If trust me, if I'm going up to bat and I get 12 at bats because you suck, it's your problem. It's not my problem. And if I'm an offensive player, I want to get as many at bats as possible.
This notion that you got to turn it off. I mean, there's no, you don't get a participation award for just playing. You win. You are paid to win. And if the other team is not having a night, the law of averages balances out. They're going to beat up somebody by 20 runs anyway. So this notion of they can't do this, they can't do that, or these unwritten rules.
But also as a professional sports person, can't believe I said that, sportsman. but as a professional sportsman, surely you run the risk of actually injuring yourself by not playing 100% because you turn differently or you pull differently that your body's not used to because you don't do that. I just the whole thing for me, and the fact that he's come out and I'll say it, I think he's an idiot.
No, he's people fail to realize that Tony Russo was part of that, the whole PED, HGH steroid era. He knew that Canseco and McGuire were taking it. He knew that, in Oakland that they were doing it. He knew what was going on. And when he went to St. Louis, it continued again with Mark McGuire. So, this guy has no credibility as far as I'm concerned. If he has any with me, it's very, very little. And then, he's part of the Veterans Committee, and he allows Harold Baines to get in on the Hall of Fame. Guy who was not voted in, you elected him in. Over people like Carlos Delgado, over other players that deserve to get in. And Harold Baines, of all people, come on, man. He's had his career numbers are based on longevity, not on he never really had a dominant season. He had consistently good seasons, but he's not a Hall of Famer. But Tony Russo's response was after Lance Lynn, the starting for the White Sox, after Lance Lynn came out and supported Yermin Mercedes, and La Russa's response was,
quite a few people have.
Yeah, quite a few people have. And La Russa's response was, I have an office, and that's why he has a locker. And I thought it was a very ignorant statement to make. I mean, he hasn't lost that clubhouse. He's lost it now.
Yeah, I don't. If he makes another comment, I don't see him lasting until the end of the season.
There's this perception that he can do whatever he wants with the Chicago White Sox because he's close friends with the owner. There's a perception of that.
Yeah, but when you start bringing the club into disrepute, it's a different ball game, right?
I can see Tim Anderson just saying, you know what? As long as this guy's here, I'm not going to play hard, or I might just play for myself. Or I'm just going to play for my teammates. I'm not going to care what this guy says. I can, and I'm not picking on Tim Anderson. I think Tim Anderson's a great teammate. I think he's a great player. But you saw his reaction, and the fact that the Twins drew at Mercedes the next game and they waited till the 7th inning to do it, that is absolute bush. And that's like what the Rangers did to Jose Bautista in 2016. You waited to the man's final at bat to throw at him, and that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's
premeditated, right? And that's
it's absolutely premeditated. If you know what, you could have hit him in the first at bat and said, okay, you did your thing last night. We got you back. End of discussion. We're good. But you waited till the seventh inning, his last at bat.
But here's the thing: they threw at him. Mm-hmm. He didn't do anything wrong.
No, he did not do anything wrong. It's just someone's feelings getting hurt, and Tony La Russa stirring the pot, and CC Sabathia went after him this morning with the New York Knicks.
You won't want to cross him, would you?
No, I mean, CC, he just recently retired. He knows what the game is transitioning to. Trevor Bauer came out and said that he had no issues with that.
He said, pitch better.
Yeah, it's a pitch better. If you don't want to get beat by 9 runs, then maybe you need to get better pitching, or maybe you need a better manager to avoid those things. And I go back to the game. The day, I think it was somewhere in August, I think it was August 29, 28, 29, 30, 31st. And the Jays got walloped 22-2 by the Milwaukee Brewers. The Jays did not throw at anybody in the next game. They didn't even do that. They took it. They got walloped. They came back and they won.
But that's like saying, if somebody throws a perfect game, mm-hmm. we're going to start throwing at them because he didn't let us hit the ball. So now we're going to start throwing at the what? That's the kind of mentality, isn't it?
It's very childish, man. I mean, you give credit where credit is due, right? If the other team is scoring a lot of runs, you give credit to them. It's just one of those nights or one of those games. And like I said, it balances out. You're going to have a game where you're going to beat a team 17-2. It's going to happen, right?
You're telling me that they never had a pitcher in the bullpen that needed to have a workout, that needed to go and throw some innings. You're telling me that's not the case. It's ridiculous.
It is
utter nonsense.
And this is, I think it was last year with Tatis when he hit the grand slam, and people got upset with him. And I'm like, don't get upset with him, man. His job is to produce. That's it. That's what they're getting paid to do. Their job is to produce.
You don't want it. You don't want him to hit the ball out the park. Walk him then. Throw mm-hmm. the ball 6 feet away.
Yeah,
you're going to throw it straight down the middle. Then you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, all you got to do to the umpire is say, "That's it," and you walk him on 4 pitches. If you don't want to do that, but it boils down to pitch better. And I felt bad for Mercedes because he's kind of caught in the middle of it, and he did nothing wrong. And La Russa threw him under the bus. His teammates are picking up for him. A lot of people in and around baseball are saying that Mercedes did nothing wrong. So I guess I feel bad for the kid. Hey, if La Russa doesn't want Mercedes, we'll take him. If we take him and we take Willis Astudillo and we have Kirk come back, that's 3 roly-polies we have on that bench.
3.
I will take that. And Astudillo can run. Have you seen him run from the Twins? He can run. So, and he can play a few positions. Mercedes can be your backup catcher. He could be a DH or a first. He can do a few things for you as well. They're all multi-positional players. And they're chunky. There's nothing wrong with having a chunky player on your team.
Combined weight of 1,000. Oh man, that's funny. I think that's about it for today. I'm going to get this edited and get it up hopefully before the game starts in about 2 hours time. As always, Sheldon, pleasure having you on. Even with some technical issues today. When are you on Blue Jay Center next?
Saturday and Sunday. It looks like I might be doing quite a few shows next week. I think it's Monday, Wednesday, and on the weekend next week as well. So I got a few of those. We just did a show for Into the Gaps that we're going to post up on Instagram. It's on YouTube as it is right now, but we're going to probably focus more on the Instagram account and bump that up. So you'll see a few things coming up. 40/40 Club, we paused for a bit for the time being, but we will be coming back eventually. We might do a few tinkering and changes there. Blue Jays Center, you catch me Saturday and Sunday, but they will be on. They're on pretty much after every game. So
I'll be expecting a call at around about 4:30 in the morning on Friday. Yeah.
Oh, if I'm on that show, I'm going to push that.
I was sitting there and it came up on my phone and I was like, oh no, what should I do? What should I do? And then I could hear like Steve in the background going, go on, Jay, if you see it, make sure. And I thought, you know what, let me just do it. But what I didn't realize is that you could not see me.
Oh, it's funny because we just heard a voice. That's all we heard. I'm sleeping.
Obviously, I was watching, but I was like, it was 4:30 in the morning. It's been a long week. But I'm going to make sure I'm awake and fully dressed, just in case it happens again.
Oh, it's going to happen. We've kind of agreed that we'll someone will get a hold of you on a Friday.
So you're throwing at me now, are you? All right, okay, I get it. But yeah, as always, mate, thanks for coming on. No doubt I will catch you in a couple of hours when the game's on. At least we haven't got to deal with the Stripling ordeal again.
Nope.
I will be back, hopefully, what day is it today? Thursday. I'll be back at the weekend at some point on here. Maybe you'll catch me in the early hours over on Blue Jay Center for their post-game Fan Take Friday. Don't forget, as always, on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, blah, 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 everywhere you know where to catch me. Also, head over to TikTok. My TikTok's getting a little bit bigger and things are happening. Things are happening. So make sure you go and check out all of the content. And I will catch you soon for another edition of Jay's Talk with Jay. Adios.
Thanks. See you guys.